All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's live training webinar and also special Level Up Top Producer Spotlight with Jared Perlman. And today he's going to be discussing how you can stand out as a loan officer. All right. It does look like we've got a few confirmations there, and it is 11 o'clock. So I want to make sure that we do have plenty of time to have Jared cover everything today. So I'm going to go ahead and get started since it is a couple minutes past the top of the hour now. So hope you guys are all ready to hear from Jared. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so as I mentioned today, we're going to be hearing from the Chief Operating Officer, Jared Perlman, and he is currently working for Choice Mortgage out of Fort Lauderdale. He's got over 10 years in the mortgage industry, and he's going to basically be sharing with us today, like I mentioned, how you can become a top producer, or become just basically a top loan officer today, and getting more spotlight on yourself. So with that, Jared, can you hear me today? And I want to see if we can maybe ask you a few questions here and get started.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. And then, one quick correction: we're out of Boca Raton, so just north of
Boca Raton. Gotcha. Okay, cool, awesome. Boca Raton, Florida. And now, do you guys cover mostly South Florida, or is that kind of your general area that you cover?
Yeah, so we're licensed currently in 16 states, expanding into 17, 18, and 19 here shortly. All up and down the eastern seaboard, a little bit in the south, Colorado, California. I won't bore you with all the states. You can go to choicemortgage.com if anyone's interested where we're licensed. But the majority of our operations are in Florida, South Florida. So we do about 85% of our business in Florida right now.
Very cool, very cool. Now, obviously, you've got over 10 years in the mortgage industry. Maybe tell me a little bit about how you first got started and what that kind of looks like, your journey to get to where you are today.
Yeah, so I don't think many people start in the mortgage industry or start with the idea that they're going to go into the mortgage industry. I think this is one of those like dumb luck, weird weird situations. Like, oh, now I'm a mortgage professional. And my story is really no different. I went to school for finance, went to the University of Florida, having a tough season right now, but not as bad as Florida State for all our Florida State fans out there. And decided that I wanted to go into financial services. Left school, went to work for a team that was managing like $1 billion book. Thought that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a wealth manager. And after about 7 weeks, I walked into my boss's office and I said, hey, thank you so much. This is an amazing internship, but I'm going back to school now. And he looked at me and said, we hired you full time, buddy. What are you talking about? No, this is definitely an internship. I'm going to go back to school. It was really boring. It was, 95% of the day is talking to the old lady in New York that has $10 million with you, but you have to talk to her about the weather and how, her kids don't call her. And that just wasn't for me. Went back to school to get my MBA. Also wasn't for me, was a little slow. Started an app company at the time. This is 2012, which everyone was doing. That wasn't for me. I don't know how to program. And then, yeah, forgot that piece. And then I had a family member who was in the business who called me and said, hey, this business is heating back up after, the market crash. It's now beginning of 2013. And I said, why don't you come check it out? And I came to the office a few days and I said, this is great. This is more of a high velocity transactional business. It's definitely a relationship business, but not that every Wednesday I have to call Lois from New York and talk about the weather. You can have those true relationships. And so I really got into it there, just fell into it and fell in love with it.
That is really cool. It sounds like you were looking for more of that kind of faster paced environment, right? Like you said, that kind of high velocity transactional type stuff.
Yeah.
And now with that said, how much volume are you looking to close this year?
I mean, I'm looking to close an unlimited amount of volume. I will personally probably close somewhere between 32 and 35 million. Wow. Depends on what the next month looks like origination wise. Nice. My team, my company, we're going to be around that $200 million mark. It's an interesting time right now. It's tough to see whether or not those are good metrics. But we're growing. And I think in this business as a loan officer, if your volume isn't growing. If you aren't seeing some uptick, then you're in trouble. But it's growth from last year.
That's awesome. And it sounds like you guys are at least growing. Every little bit of step forward is a step forward, right? So now I know that you've been in this for a little while now and you kind of fell into it in a way. Is there anything that has stood out to you over the last 10 years of being in the mortgage industry that you would say is like a must do for anyone that's starting to get into the mortgage industry, or maybe they're been in it for a little bit and they're trying to maybe expand themselves? Like, what are some things that you've seen that have like helped people kind of just when they're initially starting out, or maybe trying if they're like feeling a little stuck?
Yeah. So I say this to every newer loan officer that we hire, and as a rule, by the way, we really don't hire new people because it's a business that a lot of people fail at, and it's honestly just sticking with it. This business is mostly marketing. It's unfortunate because people who are purely marketers give the business a little bit of a bad name. But you can't hone your skill and work on loans and figure out how to help people if you don't know how to get that business in the door. So you have to spend a lot of your time out there marketing. Best thing I learned in my 7 weeks in financial advising was when you have 100% of your, or when you have no clients, you have 100% of your time to market. When you get one client, 99%. Now, maybe that doesn't translate directly to to the mortgage, but to the mortgage world, let's say 100% of time marketing. When you get one client, now only spend 90% of time marketing, 10% of that time on the loan. But I do see a lot of people get that one loan, they really hang on to it. They get the, I want to do it perfect, so I want to know absolutely everything, and now I have something to work on. So you'll see them go from experienced loan officer to experienced loan officer. You see them go office to office asking questions about the one loan. And the problem is, if that thing fails, you are so emotionally invested in it, you need almost like, a shot in the ass, for lack of a better term, to get back out there and get that next loan. And so you really just got to stick with it. You got to get out there and get as many bites at the apple as possible. And it builds on itself. As you get more bites at the apple, you see more scenarios. As you see more scenarios, you recognize more bites at the apple. And once you get to 100, 200, 500, 1,000 loans, I guarantee you that having seen that many files, I can identify a potential client significantly faster than somebody new. So it's just momentum. It's a momentum game, and it's stick-to-itiveness. People don't really make a whole lot of money their first year, so you got to have a plan, and you got to stick with it.
That's awesome. And I know that with that, it's like you said, it's a grind. You got to really just stick with it, stay with it, and really put your time in, pay your dues, essentially. Now, I know there's probably some more seasoned loan officers that are obviously on this call today too. And what would you suggest to someone, because I know you're at like a chief operating officer stage, what would you say to someone that maybe has been in the, been doing this for a while and they're looking to take that next step, maybe into more of like a branch manager or, even a COO position? Like, what could they be doing now to prepare themselves to get to that point?
Don't do that. Be a loan officer is not for fun. I had a conversation with an employee of ours who wanted to take that step into management from the operational side of things, and we were having a really serious conversation. And I said to her, "Do you like this conversation?" She's like, "No, not at all." I said, "This is what you have to do as a manager." She said, "Oh, I don't want to do that." Okay, so but no, in all honesty, if you wanted to, you got to find that niche. A COO is a really large, encompassing term. Even a branch manager is. I know branch managers that run P&Ls, branch managers that don't, some that deal with pricing concessions so they understand the secondary space a little bit better, some that don't, some that are tacticians and technicians, and some that are marketers. And so it's really finding that value add for people, because ultimately that's what you need in this business. I think anybody on this call is smart enough to know there's only a certain amount of basis points in a loan. I mean, maybe some people can make more, maybe some people can make less. But if you're going to be working on that loan from a management position all the way down to a loan officer, loan processor, loan officer assistant, you need to bring value to it. So if you want to be a branch manager, how are you bringing value? It's not just making 10, 25, 50 basis points on the RIP because you're a branch manager. Are you helping develop relationships? Are you the guy that you're going to bring loans to, to help fix them? And that's really where I got started in the operational side of things. as a loan officer, I became a tactician. I became a student of loans. I'm a big mortgage nerd. I like read mortgage Facebook groups while I'm sitting on the couch at night. Like I'll just scroll through like Fannie Mae guidelines and find weird stuff and message my underwriting manager about it, and we'll just kind of like nerd out about it. It's fun.
That's awesome.
But I was that person that like really liked to figure things out, and then other loan officers just started saying like, hey, what would you do with this? What would you do with that? And I used that, and honestly, in my mind, I said, oh, I'm good at this. I'm good at helping people structure loans. I'm good at fixing problems. How can I use that to elevate my team, myself? And then I became a branch manager and helped lead a team of pretty high producing LOs. And then that next step was to kind of take over the operations, because it's really all the same mindset when you're a loan tactician, is how do you get from A to B to C as fast as possible?
Right. That's really cool. It sounds like, again, going back to finding the value, how can you add value, for yourself, but also to your team and all of that kind of stuff? Because if you lift yourself up, the rest of the team lifts up, right? So that's really cool to hear. Now, obviously, you said that you don't really work with a lot of new folks, but I'm sure you've been around a lot of different loan officers, and probably as with your years in the industry as well, you've probably made some mistakes, or maybe some flubs here. What are some maybe common mistakes that you have seen, or that you really try to encourage people to avoid when they're working as a loan officer?
So first off, in terms of new loan officers, anybody who's looking to grow their team, there's a great line that I heard years ago from Carl White. Anybody who knows that, he's like the head of the mortgage marketing animals, and he was saying, in terms of growing your team, you don't hire ponies ever. You hire stallions. You need stallions to run. But be sure to look out for baby stallions, because some of those, they just haven't matured yet. So you have to find that way. And by the way, the best loan officers on my team, were people who hadn't been in the industry. The number one loan officer in our company right now, outside of myself and my business partner, is somebody who we knew personally and just wanted to get into the business. So, if he's hearing this, baby stallion. But listen, you're going to make a million mistakes in this business. There is nothing worse than calling a borrower and just saying like, hey, I screwed up. But the number one mistake I see people make, and invariably everybody does this at the beginning, is not taking a complete and thorough application when you talk to your borrower up front. 99% of issues can be solved if you just play dumb with them in the first phone call. If when you're talking to them, they say, hey, I'm a pilot, instead of saying like, cool, send me a pay stub, go, hey, how does that work? How do you get paid? How does money enter your life? Like, when do you receive your pay stubs? Is this hourly? Do you get paid per flight? Is fuel consumption part of it? Like, everybody who's listening to this has been on a plane or knows what a plane is. So use that background knowledge to dig and ask those questions, because if you do that, even if you've never done a loan before in your life, you can turn to the loan officer next to you that's been doing it for 15 years and go, hey, I have a pilot. He says he gets paid a little, like, and pilots get paid very oddly. Sometimes they get overtime if there's certain flights, if they take weird routes. They get a base. Sometimes it's guaranteed, sometimes it's not. But if you ask those questions and you're able to disseminate that to a great underwriter, a great loan processor, a great other LO, then you might have a loan, you might not have a loan, but at the very least, you are going to have a clear understanding of what you need to do for that borrower. What a lot of people will do is just stop after that first question, or send them to the online application, or just collect a little bit of documentation and throw it into processing and hope. And you don't need the 10 years, 12 years, 20 years of experience originating loans to ask questions. And people are okay with it. They love talking about themselves. Listen to me right now. I just keep going. I love talking about myself.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point too, because I think by asking them how their business works or how the money comes in, you're also building that relationship. You're learning more about their profession. You're breaking those barriers down and getting to know them on a deeper level, versus just being someone trying to get information from them, to fill out an application, which I think is, and again, it opens it up for conversation, which is really cool.
Oh yeah, they'll sneak in when you start asking those open-ended questions. oh, hold on, my son is calling me, or my dog's barking in the background, and you get
Yeah.
to say like, oh, I like dogs. And listen, as a loan officer, you're in sales. If you don't like dogs, that's okay. It's a little bit of a white lie, but you get to connect with that person. I happen to like
Right.
dogs, but you know what? If someone said I hate dogs, I would probably tell them I hate dogs too, just to connect with that person. I mean, this is sales.
Right, right, for sure. Now, like you kind of referenced this a little bit earlier, that the market's been very different, right? And there's a lot of fluctuations and changes, and interest rates are kind of going up and then coming now down a little bit. What have you kind of done as far as your team to, like, do you guys have a strategy around this, or did you guys kind of prepare for this moving into it? How has it kind of changed the landscape of how you guys do business?
A lot of different ways. First and foremost, I think to last in this business, to create a name or a personal brand, you have to be purchase business focused always. Purchase business doesn't dry up. It slows down. Obviously, it moves with market fluctuations, but it doesn't just go away like refinance business does. And I've seen people come into this business, make a lot of money in the phone room setting, in the lead space, and then all of a sudden interest rates shoot up, and you went from in 2020, 2021, like 60-40, split in terms of refinances were 60% down. I saw some months last year where it was like 3 and 4% of what was happening, and you really can't survive on just that segment of business. Now, if you're purchase focused, which means you're relationship focused, so you're short-term relationship focused with the borrower. Not to say you don't want to touch base with them. Calling your database, making sure that they have great experiences is the number one way to get repeat business. But your relationship is with real estate agents, financial advisors, CPAs. But if you're there, it's going to keep happening, especially if you're in a good market. We're in South Florida. This market didn't really, it got weird, but it didn't really dry up. But you'll also capture refinance business, because those people are going to come back to you. Over the last 2 years where there was no refis, 33% of my business was refis. Like, how is it? I didn't seek them, but I had clients that needed to take cash out, or they had a friend that wasn't getting harassed left and right on the phone or with internet spam because there weren't the refi shops out there. So I was able to capture that. So you just really need to be purchase focused. You also need to go where the money is in terms of product. And so over the last 2 years, I've seen non-QM just really start to become a bigger and bigger piece of our business, but just a bigger piece of the business overall. More non-QM lenders than ever before are popping up, more non-QM products. That's also where the big banks and the traditional lenders don't want to go. And so you have to go there and you have to become an expert in it. So we do a lot of non-QM as a company. It's gone from 15 to 20, now it's over 30% of our business. They're high volume loans. They're loans where people don't generally shop rate, which is awesome. Which means they hold margin, which means for your LOs out there, you're getting your full comp. For your branch managers and your owners out there, you're making the appropriate amount of money on it. And it also, from a leadership standpoint, if you have a team doing a lot of non-QM, you can be a little bit more aggressive with the other stuff. So it's just a good product. And I always recommend that people get really familiar with it, find 1 or 2 lenders or investors that they like their product, and just really dive in.
Got it. So again, kind of going back to really building those relationships with people too, and just getting out there. So one thing I wanted to also ask you as well too, obviously in 2020, there was this kind of crazy record lows and things like that. Did you guys face any operational challenges with like the unexpected volume, or were you guys able to kind of manage that in its own way?
Oh yeah, massive operational shortages. We had staff poached, just completely. Other companies needed them and were willing to pay whatever they could. And unfortunately for a lot of them, they were also the first people out in 2022. And we had I remember, I think it was July of 2020. We had worked, so my business partner Emmanuel and I had worked 27 straight days. We were processing loans because we were short processors and one had to take a medical leave. We were doing closing disclosures and loan estimates, and the game got to be every other day. one of us would pick up breakfast for the other, who could, outdo each other in breakfast, because we were there at 6 a.m. and leaving at 10 p.m. at the office. And
Wow.
you do what you have to do,
Yeah.
because what ended up coming from that, not turning away business, not turning away opportunities, you want to do every loan you can. If it is a good business decision to do that loan, you do that loan. Even if it's a bad business decision in the short term, you do that loan. So we did a lot of loans. And guess what happened in 2022 and 2023? Those were the clients that came back to us. Those were the people still referring us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we were short everywhere we could be. I think everybody was.
Did that affect the way you guys look now at saying to, like, as far as like scalability and efficiency moving forward? Did you guys adjust in any way for that?
Oh, massive adjustments. I mean, we actually left the company that we were at and built our own company. We realized that the company wasn't ready for scale. So we funded our first loan in June of 22. Fun time to be starting a company. But
yeah, right.
We took that opportunity to build everything to scale. So everything we have now, our business can be doubled tomorrow and it won't affect service levels. Our business can be tripled and it will barely affect service levels. Our business can be quadrupled and all we need to do is plug people into a few places. Everything was built not only to scale, but also if we needed to scale back. And I don't mean that in terms of laying off staff, because we have the best people on our team, but I mean, people get sick, people are out. So we cross-train people. We made sure that certain things are automated. We put a lot of business rules in place. And so it's so much more fluid now from start to finish. And we put those right stopping points and checkpoints in so that if our closing department, our entire closing department gets sick, well, our lock desk also knows how to close loans. We made sure that those pieces are in place.
Yeah, and I think that even us here at Jungo, we've made those changes because we had such an influx that we had just departments of people doing things, but now the cross training has really gone into effect because if someone goes out sick, you want to make sure there's still people that can do the support if needed. So I think that's really important, is that cross training, because also again, you may have someone that didn't know how to do something, but now they have added more value to themselves and also to the team because they know how to do something else or something new, which is cool. I'm going to ask you one last question before we actually hop into your Jungo account, if you don't mind. But what key metrics or KPIs do you use to track to assess the performance of your loan officers?
Yeah, sorry, come on, do not disturb. Why do I keep getting disturbed? So everyone goes to closings, and then from closings they go to margin, and then from margin they go to profitability. None of that really matters. So I track. My goal for a long time from the sales standpoint was to track the original action, which is a phone call. We did this exercise where we got all our loan officers in a room, or most of our loan officers in a room. We said, like, okay, what activities actually generate business? And they came up with like 70 different activities, whatever it was. And at the end of the day, we essentially all decided that like that phone call, that amount of time, the effort, the barrier to entry of that new client is always better on the phone than going to a networking event, doing a booth here, whatever it is. So the phone call is the baseline piece of it. So one of the things I did was I integrated our phone system with Jungo, so you can actually record the phone call. Now, awesome. I kind of underestimated how much, or overestimated how much salespeople care about doing things my way. So while I still track phone calls, our inside salespeople, I can see what they're doing. And that's important. I get a report every morning about what phone calls were made. And, I see that they're doing their job. I see that they're trying. So it's awesome to see, but that's not really the baseline activity that you can track for outside salespeople. It's loan app starts. So that's where it starts, is when does a loan app come into our system? We don't allow it into our system unless it goes through the online application. You can't do it manually. Even if somehow you forced it in manually, it would capture that. So loan app starts, disclosures, conversions, bust outs, credit pulls, everything that leads up to a closed loan. Because if you have a lot of loan app starts, I know next month I'm going to have a lot of closings. And if you don't, that's why you're tracking bust outs. But it's all the top of funnel statistics, because when you're tracking top of funnel, bottom funnel just falls into place.
Right. I gotcha. And that makes total sense too, because if they are making the calls and putting in and starting those loans, obviously that, it's a game of numbers. The more of those that are happening, the more likelihood it's going to fall into place. So,
Yeah,
well, let me switch it over to you now, Jared. I'm going to have you present, if you don't mind, and we can maybe take a look at your account, your Jungo account, and see if you maybe could show us some of your processes and just things that you've got maybe that are different, or maybe might be something that you feel has been really beneficial for you in the platform.
sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Let me get that switched over here real quick. All right.
Okay.
Perfect.
Which screen are we showing right now?
I'm showing, it looks like your Outlook right now, the Outlook invite. There we go. Perfect.
Okay,
There
sorry.
we go.
Usually on Teams. So yeah, here's our Jungo platform. We haven't changed the dashboard a whole lot from the baseline package when we started, maybe like 7 years ago, but a few different items that we did. So this entire section of the dashboard is more a sales-oriented section where we've started tracking people who are giving us business. So things like sticky agents are people that we've met with that haven't given us referrals yet. Stuck agents, they've given us referrals. Focus 40 different agents we've closed with in the last 40 days. And these are places that you should be able to go back to the well for business at an ever increasing higher conversion percentage. Like, we've closed with these people, or these people already trust us, or these people have already met with us. So just kind of a good place to look. Other than that, I would say, honestly, the number one thing that I've personally done in Jungo that's helped me get a better view of the business is kind of build out some different dashboards that show me what's going on in the business overall. And so this is fully integrated with our LOS, which is Byte. And so it shows me really where everything is. This has been huge, tracking bust outs, and what started that was supposed to close that isn't closing this month, and we can dive into it and see why. And then just another really cool piece that we built out that's huge for me is our turn times. So Jungo, yeah, to me it's huge, and Jungo is like really customizable. So you just build some simple formulas into reports to see, like, hey, between approval and clear to close, what's our time frame between submitted and approval? And you can go down the line, and these little dials here, if I'm in the green, I'm good. Yellow is generally where we live, but like our approval to clear to close turn time is a little bit high. So that's something that we're always looking at. And you can go down by loan officer, processor, if you have a business development person. So I can see, I'll use myself here in terms of an LO, but you can see these change. So I can see, like, hey, my approval to clear to close turn time is way slower than the average loan officer. What's happening here? So that'll give me some insight to dive in and see why my CTCs are taking so long. Maybe it's because my application to submission is quick and my submitted to approval is really quick. So I'm submitting a file and getting it approved really quickly. That goes back to making sure you take a thorough application. So maybe I just have more time until CTC because my closings aren't later. Submitted to CTC is not that bad, but these are all really valuable pieces of information to track your own business. And this has gotten so granular for us that I've been able to notice trends with different processors, different. We don't have it per underwriter yet, but I'll get it there. And just see that, like, something's going on in their life that might be slowing them down. And we've been able to, you don't want to say, like, front run their personal life, but at the same token, reach out and say, like, hey, what's going on? Is everything okay? How can I help make your life a little bit better? But just tracking all of that. I mean, you'll see here we track bust outs, in terms of volume. This is just my personal bust outs in terms of in terms of units. And it's all really valuable information to know what's happening and why you are or aren't closing loans.
Yeah. And it's cool because I feel like a lot of the people, when I was really diving in and helping people, now I'm in this trainer position, so I'm not working in cases as much as I used to, but I know that when I was working in cases a lot, like, there's a lot of people leverage these dashboards and they to get to that data. And if you're really data driven, like you said, the customization that you can go on to with these dashboards is, it can be really beneficial. And I think it's awesome that you were able to have so much data. You're noticing trends with even people that are, kind of outside of your peripheral of, the sales side of it, like your processors and things, to know that that's going on. So keeping a really good eye, it's good to help you kind of keep an eagle eye on your business in a lot of ways too.
Yeah, it's huge. And then, you're able to, like, bust outs, for instance. We weren't tracking this until a few months ago. And the second we started looking at it, we started finding trends, and not necessarily trends in things that could close, but trends in things that shouldn't have started. And when you start loans that don't close, it costs money. As you start looking at the finances of a business as a whole, loan officers really need to start doing this too, because at the end of the day, it impacts your pricing and it impacts your compensation. But the more loans you start, the more people that touch it that don't close, the more cost you're racking up, right? And if you cost more money, either you have to raise rates or pay you less. And so these are always things that you should track, even from just the loan officer level. And then along with this, some of the reports I was saying before, like, I get this every morning. So tell me, can you see my email?
Yeah.
So, like, calls, this is somebody who's internal, so he's crushing us in calls, but like new leads this month. So who's starting with new leads? Loan app starts, pre-approvals issued, loan applications disclosed, calls. These are all things. I get this email at I think it's 7 a.m. every morning. No, maybe this is an 8 a.m. email. And then I track the trends too. I get this one at 8 a.m. and I see, what our volume looks like in loan app starts and disclosed apps. And these are really big triggers for me to go like, hey, I was seeing that our loan app starts were starting to decline. Like, we're not having a great month right now. October is our worst month in the last 2 quarters, but we knew it was coming. And so we prepared for it. And then we've also started kicking up, different ideas on how to generate more business, because I could see this coming from February. And so that's also key too. Again, even at the loan officer level, you get into this cycle of highs and lows. And if you can start tracking the activities that you're doing to generate, and if they're trailing off, you got to pick them back up.
Yeah, that's and I think that was something that with Monica Jones, she was the last one we did an interview with. That was something she also talked about, was kind of, she saw what was coming. And I think, if you can see something and you can anticipate it coming, you can be better prepared for it. Like you said, you knew that October is going to be this way. So it's not like catching you off guard and you're scrambling. You guys have already kind of been processing how to make it better. So I think it's really cool how you guys are really keeping this eye on the data too, and being able to be that granular. Now, are you guys getting most of your leads from cold calls, or do you guys, or how are you guys getting most of your leads in usually?
So our loan officers are face-to-face, belly-to-belly people. They go and develop relationships. We also have a business development director who develops some relationships at the company level.
Cool.
But it is mostly real estate agents. It's being that trusted resource for them. It's being that person that they can go to, that they know they're going to get their paycheck. But cold calls, when I started in this business, I was doing 300 cold calls a day, and that was really miserable. And I didn't want to do that. So we encourage people to join networking groups. I think BNI is an awesome thing. There's NPI, there's BNI, there's a bunch of those. I don't do one anymore, but I used to. I used to do a networking group at 6 a.m. and another one at 7 a.m. Even though you weren't supposed to do that, try and get as many bites as the apple. And then, we try to make sure that we can be that trusted resource. Right now is a great time to become that trusted resource for real estate agents. You have a lot of loan originators leaving the business. You have a lot of loan originators floundering, and their companies aren't giving them the support that they need. So they're dropping the ball. Companies are just cutting in the wrong places, left and right. And then you also have a lot of real estate agents that are really confused about the industry. They're confused about this NAR settlement. They're confused about the paperwork they need. They're confused about condos. We specialize in condo financing. At one quarter this year, I think it was the second quarter, 26% of our loans were condo loans, because we started moving really deeply into that non-QM space, and we developed an internal condo desk. We developed a lot of internal processes for it. And so we saw that being here in Florida, condo capital of the world, as an opportunity to become a trusted resource for that. And we've done a lot of presentations on condos. We've become the condo experts. We have, our website, mycondogotdenied.com, where a lot of people go when their condos get denied, also, just to get condo financing. And that's really been a good place for our loan officers to go in and start that conversation and become that trusted resource.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. It's like, I love the branding. It's, mycondogotdenied.com. That's an easy web address for people to remember. It redirects to your guys' website, but it's like touching on something that you're noticing. Obviously, Florida's a big condo, it's a pretty big condo area. We're in Southern California, and we have condos, but not Florida level condos. But it's definitely one of those things, you got to find that niche and kind of, like you said, play into that a lot. Do you have what is your, I know you said that you get these reports in daily. What does your day-to-day look like when you come into Jungo? Is it usually just checking your reports, kind of seeing from there and just seeing where you're needed, or do you have a little bit of a daily thing you do go through?
Yeah, so Jungo is all about tasks for me. You can customize it to the point where you have things done for you. We've never been that type of business. We're not a call center. We're not someone that wants an automatic workflow that's going to take the place of the LO. So for us, a lot of our workflows are just task driven. You can see over here, these are my tasks for the day that I haven't gotten to. I have a 15-day follow-up with Brian, and we have a really simple workflow we developed years ago, which is when you put a lead into the system, it reminds the loan officer via a task and an email on day 2, 4, 7, 15, 30, 45, 60, 90, I want to say, to follow up with this person. You should have 9 bites at the apple on this one person, and we sell that to our referral partners. Hey, it's impossible for us to get to follow up with this guy because we have so many different reminders. So it's really tasks. I tell those all the time. If you just completed your tasks, you would get more business. If you just set up your tasks, you would get more business. And Jungo is an awesome system, but it's very robust. I tell people, write it down on a piece of paper if this is too much for you. Eventually, you'll get it into Jungo. But just have a system. The best CRM is the one you use, and so you have to use it. So it's absolutely going through tasks. It's managing that dashboard that I showed you is really key for me from a management standpoint, seeing what's going on with the business. And then there's just there's some different pieces in here. Like we send out a lot of marketing through Acton, which is the marketing component of Jungo. And you can see that, and I like to see what people are getting. I like to see. We'll just take this client up here. I like to see what emails are going on. I like to see if there's any communication. I like to go through and honestly look for business within Jungo. Some of that customizability. You can make reports. And you can still see my screen, right?
Yeah, you're good.
And so I'll report here. I'll just kind of flash this one real quick because I don't want to. Actually, I won't dive into the report. Can't show client information, but we have reports for refi opportunities, right? So we've created these reports, and you can go in here as a loan officer and see all your loans that are over 6%. Well, that's a call you should be making if you need business. All your FHA and V loans, that's a call that you should be making if you need business. Adjusting ARMs, all different calls that you should be making if you need business. These are loans that need to refinance at some point.
Right.
You can extract that information right from Jungo, and you should be keeping as much information in Jungo as you can. If you're constantly looking at these, if you're constantly monitoring them, if you're building your own reports and your own lists, you're going to find business. You're going to find more business in your past business than you will anywhere else.
Yeah. I think you really are talking about something that I really talk about in my trainings and the webinars is, get in and use the system, trial and error, see what it does, click around and, build those reports, build list views so you can, really learn how the filters work, because once you figure out that stuff, you can really get into these like opportunity rates over 6%, the FHA loans and really diving into that stuff. But that's really good. I like that you can find business within your database is kind of what you're saying there, which is cool.
You should be able to convert 1% of all close in a refinance market. So don't get me wrong. when rates are crazy, it's not like this, but however many loans you've closed in your life, you should be able to do 1% of that per month in recurring business if you are constantly following up with your database, if you're mining your database, if you're keeping in touch with them. So part of that, it's a multi-pronged approach. Part of it is just going through and calling it. A lot of people do like 2 letters a week. So you do AB week 1, CD week 2, and you follow up with your database. That way it's not overwhelming. Part of it is marketing, making sure that you have that piece. So Acton was a game changer for us when we figured it out and when we got the right marketing group with it and doing our marketing. Like that's really started to generate a lot of business. And when you do that and you combine that with mining your database, you're going to get business in the door. You're going to you closed 1,000 loans in the right market. You should get 10 loans a month out of that database.
Yeah. I like that. Now, how do you stay updated with like the industry trends? Like there's always, new things kind of coming out. Do you kind of look into the trends, or do you kind of just look at your data and go off of that? Or there's new regulations coming out sometimes too. Like how do you keep up with all that stuff? Obviously you're kind of a nerd on it, so I'm sure you probably stay pretty on top of it.
A number of places. I think a lot of people make the mistake of trying to make this a profession without making it a profession. And if you are going to be an attorney, you have to keep up with new laws. And if you're going to be a doctor, you have to keep up with new techniques. I don't want to claim to be as smart as an attorney or a doctor, mainly because my wife's an attorney and she would kill me. But you have to keep up with new things. So you join industry groups. We're a member of the Mortgage Collaborative, which is for owner operators of businesses where you get to meet with them on a regular basis and see what they're doing. You have your friends in the industry. And honestly, like I get a lot from just Facebook groups. I said before, when I'm sitting on the couch, I'm kind of just like scrolling through Facebook groups, and I get a lot of the best weird loan level stuff there's no nice way to say it, from dumb questions. So from loan officers who don't know what they're doing and they ask a really bad question. Well, there's no bad questions, right? But like they ask a question that they should be able to Google. I'll just start scrolling through the comments, mainly looking for people to just like say something mean to them because I'm a terrible person. But I'll see them mention this like really obscure guideline. Oh, wait a minute, it works that way? You can gross up this income based on evading loans, and I'll start diving into it. And if you keep your finger on the pulse, a lot of it comes to you, because a lot of the rules and the regulations and the trends are not in one place. I was discussing this earlier. The VA handbook, I'll probably get the year wrong, but it hasn't been updated since 1991, I believe. Wow. Everything's on a VA circular. So they just send them out. So if you want to know a VA guideline, you really need to be good at just finding random information. And they just keep updating. It's like an old program that they've just built on top of. So you just have to keep your finger on the pulse. And then most importantly, you have to have an amazing team. Doesn't matter what level or what part of the business you're in. You have to have an amazing team that's doing the same thing, because it's just not possible to know everything. And so if you have that great team, if you have that team of professionals, they're going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you.
Yeah, definitely. And you got to, like you said, leverage. And I'm sure you guys are all reading different things at different times. There's probably a lot of, just input coming in too. So that's cool. Now, obviously we're here talking about technology, but has there, since you've been in this industry, what have you seen technology do to the industry? And where do you see it going as far as, advancing the way you guys do loans, or even kind of the introduction of AI and things like that? Do you see any of that kind of stuff coming in to the industry in any way already, or possibly?
I'll save my rant for the fact that AI is not really AI, and it's not.
Yeah, that's true. I'll agree with you on that. Yeah. For
later. But I mean, listen, technology is present in every industry. When I started, we were doing paper loan files. The big advancement that I saw on my team was that they were putting little tabs in there to separate it for the processor. And we moved to digital loan files, and unfortunately, our industry is really behind the times. Like the fact that closings for the most part are still wet sign. You can't do full remote online notarization. Is crazy to me. I mean, everything else is DocuSign or one of those versions. But it's started to move pieces forward. You know, I've definitely seen new technologies pop up. I've definitely seen competitors enter the space, exit the space. You know, CRM to me is key. When I started, I didn't have a CRM. Getting a CRM was key. Learning how to build that CRM is key. And then adding to your tech stack in a really appropriate way is key. But for me, the two biggest things that I see in terms of technology are, one, LOSs are getting a little bit better. A lot of people are still on Encompass. I'm not on Encompass, so I can't really speak directly to it, but I know there's a lot more competitors coming out. And we're on Byte Pro. I love it. It's really customizable, so we can build a lot of those business rules in. But I do also see technology, unfortunately, going a little bit of the wrong way for us as loan originators. A lot of people are excited about you know, day one certainty and a lot of the tools that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are coming out with. Well, if you kind of read forward, that means that on your easy loans, your conventional W-2 borrower with good credit score, they don't actually need us. Right now, we're just kind of a pass through, and we're making a little bit of margin on it. That margin is going to start going away. And people are going to be able to go direct to agency and just go through their fast approval process. Now, they're probably not there in the next year or two, but they might be in 5 to 10 years, which means that you need to differentiate your business either as somebody who's really good with self-employment, with being creative with income, or knowing those other products. Because I really do think that a paper, oh my God, I got an easy borrower, we're not going to have that anymore. It's not going to go to Wells Fargo and the big banks. It's just going to go direct to agency.
Interesting. Okay. So you feel like there's kind of this thing where you guys might even be phased out in a way with certain loans and things like that. So yeah.
But listen, now that's when you come into making sure you have the right tools to stay in front of your borrowers that need everything else. Because I guarantee any LO listening to this knows that it's maybe 1 of 10 borrowers that's that perfect. Everyone else has something to it. They need a little bit of hand-holding. They don't know what they got. Their credit's a little banged up. So, but you just got to find them. You got to communicate with them, and you have to be the resource for those people.
Right. Definitely. Well, Jared, thank you so much for answering all these questions and kind of diving in and showing us, you know, what you're kind of doing with your Jungo account here. I know that we probably have some questions that have probably originated since we've been sitting here talking from some of our folks. So if you wouldn't mind, we could probably answer a few of those questions if you're up for it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, awesome. Let me go ahead and I'm going to switch over here again to questions. Let's see if we've got any questions so far. I think everybody's no questions right now. Are there any questions for Jared? If you guys, anyone listening, if there's any questions that you guys have about maybe how he runs his business or things that you guys heard today, is there anything that you guys would like to hear him elaborate on or maybe show in his account? I'll kind of wait for a little bit. Sometimes it takes a little time for him. Or you might have just done a really good job of explaining things as well too. So that also happens. All right. Okay, well, we don't have any questions right now. Looks like we might be having a couple pop up here. See, okay, here's a good one from Rob Zuckerman. What's a good way to build out the widgets to track stats?
Well, depends what stat you're trying to track. You know, listen, first you have to define the parameters of what you're trying to track, right? So if you're going to you know, turn times, for instance, you need to make sure that the data is in there. So one of the big things for us, one of the big things Jungo did over the last few years is became a lot more integratable, if that's the right word, with our LOS. Originally, I think I've been a Jungo customer for like 8 years now. Originally, there was only like 6 or 7 fields. Maybe like 20 fields. And through the years now, you know, Jungo's been able to add more. So, you know, constantly thinking, what do I want to see? So for instance, you know, initial underwriter turn time to clear to close, there was a lot of different pieces that had to build up to that, not just inside of Jungo. Like, we didn't track the initial underwriter decision. We just tracked their last decision. So we had to build that into the LOS. Then we had to pull it into Jungo. Once you have that, once you have the 2 endpoints, so you have, you know, initial underwriter decision versus clear to close, It's a pretty simple formula. You know, you can go into the report builder, you pull those two in, and then there's I think it's called like a row formula. I don't even remember what the term is, but you essentially go, you know, clear to close minus initial underwriter turn time, and you get the amount of days. Then you do a column formula and you do an average at the bottom, and you slap that onto whatever chart you like. And I liked the one that looked like a speedometer because it's kind of showing you where it is. But you really need to understand all the data points before you build it. I will tell you, like figuring, you know, I don't know if there's a good plug for Jungo or a bad plug for Jungo, but like figuring out all the different pieces of it takes a long time. It's really, really robust.
Right.
But once you do, you can do a lot with it. I mean, you can run an entire business from this.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that because, you know, I don't want to sugarcoat things. Like, I mean, it's definitely this system does take some time. There's a learning curve to it, but we do really try to make sure that there's enough trainings and tutorials for you guys. We're always here to help too. Like, you know, when you call us, there's someone, you know, here in the United States that you're going to get on the phone that'll help you get through the process. And I know that there's someone actually on here as well too that's watching this that also will help you build, a third-party person that'll help you build out. Shout out to Cindy Tansen out there. That will help you build this out as well too. If you just feel like you don't have the time to learn it, there's people out there that'll build out your, you know, build out the Jungo Salesforce stuff for you, and we can do it as well too. So one thing I do like to, you know, really talk about is it's, you know, you got to get in there and play with the system. You got to use it and click around, see how things work, and everything kind of. And you've probably noticed this too because you're big on the dashboards. Like once you kind of get your list views down, that kind of goes into reports, and then reports leads into dashboards. You kind of build on everything from there. So, but awesome.
For sure. And I'll tell you this, I mean, it's built on Salesforce, obviously. A lot of companies use Salesforce. YouTube is an awesome resource for just figuring out pieces of this. There's a lot of good help literature out there, and a lot of people who built something really similar, and you just follow their steps in YouTube and you figure it out. But yeah, I mean, you just have to get the data in there. You got to be a data ninja. It needs to be in there in order to do something with it.
Right. Rob's asking some more follow-up questions. So I think we just addressed some good resources. If you're looking to do a build out, Rob, in our system, you can reach out to us directly. We can do that for you in-house, depending on what it is that you're looking to do. Another person that I also mentioned too, her name is Cindy Tansen. That last name is Tansin. And she helps coach people on the platform and kind of does a lot of consultation work with our platform. She also did one of our interview series too, so you can kind of see more about that there. But be sure to check out our training center as well too. We've got a lot of good stuff in there if you want to take a time to kind of look at that if you need to. And then also we're going to be offering pro service discounts. So if you do get some pro services from us, if you attended the webinar today, there's a little bit of a discount thrown in there as well. You just got to mention it, and we can we can do that as well too. So Rob, maybe like reach out to us and see what it is that you're wanting, and we can maybe help you build from there and see, you know, just at least get you started in the right direction. And you're very welcome for that. So. And I think are there any other questions for Jared? All right, well, I think that's all the questions that we have for right now, Jared, but I'm gonna take over control on our screen here real quick and then wrap everything up for today. All right, so we got through our Q&A. Let's see if there's any other questions too. I just wanna double check before we wrap up for today. See if there's any other questions that popped up. Okay, cool, awesome. Now, one thing also too, just want to remind you guys, we are, Jungo is built on Salesforce, and as Jared was just talking about, we are very customizable. I think that's the one thing that people don't realize is just how customizable the platform is. So we can do everything to help you out with your marketing, co-marketing, get you in compliance, all that good stuff as well. And then also the other thing that Jared also mentioned was the integratability. I think is one of those things. I think was the word you used. I think you made you made up a word there, or had a good word for it. But integration is a big one. We're trying to really always integrate with new things that are beneficial to you guys, whether that be LOS systems or SMS systems, those types of things. We're always trying to just make it better for you guys all around. And then also, with that said, we are going to have a little bit of a bonus for attending. So if you are new to Jungo and you are looking to sign up with us, we are giving $200 off just for attending today. And then, as I mentioned earlier, with the pro services, specifically for Rob, thanks again for those questions there. But if you are an existing member with us and you're wanting to get some stuff done, we will do a discount there on the pro services just for attending today to get things built out in the system. So if you have questions about that, be sure to reach out to us. All right, and again, thank you guys so much for attending today. And again, thank you so much to Jared. You've been awesome. They're just really easy, really easy to talk to, and I appreciate all the great insight as well too. And we wish you the best of luck in the future. And if you guys have questions or anything, I'm sure you can reach out to Jared. Jared's got his website is deniedbythebank.com or mycondo.denied.com. And we'll also be sending out some links with information as well too. And be sure to look out for the recording for this soon in the training center and also in your email. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and end it there. And again, if any other questions do pop up after today's training, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are always here to help. But with that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we will see you at the next one. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. Thanks again, Jared. For more solutions and additional training materials, please be sure to check out our training center found in Jungo. You can also access Jungo by visiting help.ijungo.com.